Jim Lehrer, it's been an immense honor to have you.
The honor was mine. Thank you. As a veteran and experienced journalist, what advice would you give a young reporter on how to combat the uncivil discourse that Mr. Trump has aimed at reporters, and how would you suggest that they pierce the generalizations that he makes?
Well, they have to just work at it. I mean, in other words, the only way a journalist should not become a player. And so that's, there should not be, the press shouldn't be rising up and doing anything about any of this. Just continue to report and continue to report better and continue to report the failings of the press in this regard, in my opinion, was they just, which I explained, what was my reading of it, is they just, and I consider myself part of the mainline press emeritus, and I was as guilty of this as anybody else was in my thinking. You know, this guy's toast. You know, you can only be toast 17 times, and as a but the Republican Party thought the same thing, and that's what I think caused him to. But I think for an individual reporter, you just do your job.
Mrs. Clinton has been criticized for a number of events in her past, Libya, Benghazi, speeches to corporate America, contributions to the Clinton Foundation, and her private emails. Where do you think she's most vulnerable?
Well, she's vulnerable in all of those things, as everybody. It's part of her. It's her part of her record. And everybody who runs for public office is vulnerable. And all of those things, everybody's going to have a different view of it, though. I mean, everything has to be put in a context. Compared to what? And compared to what in terms of her case, compared to what in terms of her opponent's case. Are her sins, which of her sins or allegations about her bother you the most? And which don't count that much, and versus the allegations against the opponent, and in this case, Donald Trump. Her things have been well publicized. Everybody knows about them, and so here again, it's all going to come out in the wash.
So, how many debates will there be in the fall? That's the first part, and the second part is, in the fall debates, is there any situation in which the moderator might call an end to the debate? Do they have that power? And of course, it's 90 minutes of airtime. I'm just thinking if the audience gets out of hand or if things on stage are too unruly.
For a moderator to what?
To
pull the plug.
Oh, pull the plug.
Yeah.
Well, I guess a moderator could do that. But there are going to be 4 debates. There are 3 presidential, 1 vice presidential. The 3 presidential, one is at the Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. Another at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Another at Washington University, St. Louis. The vice presidential, that's the presidential debates. The vice presidential is at Longwood University over here in Farmville, Virginia. For a moderator to pull a plug, I guess a moderator could do that. And I was prepared. In every debate I moderated, I was prepared to pull the plug. I was prepared to. I tried to visualize or imagine any possible thing that could happen, what I would do if this happened, or that happened, or this happened, or that happened. And the pulling the plug, meaning actually ending the broadcast, it would take, that would have been a calamitous, that would have taken a calamitous event.
Gunfire.
I can't imagine one where you would stop it. Let's say that I had a situation in a debate where it was George W. Bush versus Al Gore in St. Louis. And Al Gore had been coached by one of his aides to try to terrorize George W. Bush physically. And they bought him a new long dress suit, and he got on cowboy boots so he'd be taller. And he was coached to, I don't know if you remember this, he approached him, walked right toward him like he was going to take him on. And I'm sitting there as the moderator thinking, well, never mind what I was first thinking. I thought, what am I going to do? Throw myself between, the two of them. And thank God, you know what George W. Bush did? He just kind of went like this, like, what's going on here? And just moved to the side and ruined the whole thing for Gore. And but I was asked many times after that, what would you have done if they had started at it physically? And I truthfully, and my truthful answer was, I really never thought that would ever happen, and I still believe that. And but it's conceivable. It's conceivable that something could happen in the debate that doesn't have anything to do with the candidates. In other words, it's there's always something like that where it's the moderator could stop a debate, but it would have to be probably an outside event of some kind.
In a democracy, obviously, it's important to have at least two viable political parties. And some think that the Trump candidacy may be the death knell of the Republican Party. What do you think? Do you think they can recover from this candidacy?
I'm going to dodge that because I really don't. I don't know enough, frankly, to have an informed opinion on that. There are just so many things going on, so many tentacles of this and that, and the Republicans themselves are just all over the place. They're trying to figure this out. There's talk going on of starting a new Republican Party, of brushing Trump aside and all of that. It's probably not going to happen. But if they go with Trump, I mean, some of them are in great peril if they go. Some of the office holders are in great peril, or they think they're in great peril if they go if Trump is the nominee and they stay in the Republican Party. And the polls indicate that that's correct, but that also could change. So I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not going to guess on that one.
When President Obama came into office, we were under the impression that we were in a post-racial America. I think that has since been demonstrated to be far from true. What's your take on the possibilities in the near future for not just racial relations, but sexual relations and all the other kinds of relations we have in this country?
The prognosis for sexual relations is always good, always very good in my experience.
I was going to say that. I think sexual relations will continue unabated.
Yeah, unabated. Yes, unabated. Yeah.
It's the one thing about which there is no gridlock.
Yeah.
But I know what you're getting at. As I was saying earlier, I think we're in an amplified state on all our differences right now, and we don't know what to do about it. And I think this election could be a turning point for the good. Some things could get resolved. It could be that out of this comes the realization of not just people in political life, not just people in public life, but all people of all lives, to say, hey, this is we've got to do better than this, and we can do it, and use the amplification and as a positive thing to get positive messages out rather than just negative messages, and both journalistically and otherwise. And but I'm not smart enough to answer that one either. I don't know when. I'm optimistic. I think it's going to happen, but I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get our act together. And I'm not even sure the amplification has not made it worse. In other words, it may not be quite as bad as the amplification indicates, and I just don't. I'm in mid ignorance on this one. Mid-ignorance. I've never confessed that one before.
Mr. Lehrer,
Sir.
you said you were on occasion boring. I never heard it. Listened to you for at least most of those 37 years or whatever.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Number two, who do you think Mr. Trump will pick for a vice presidential candidate?
Well, that's another one of those really interesting questions. I have an idea one. I mean, if it, you know, because, you know, I don't mean this to be critical, but there are Trumpian ways to make that decision, and then there are normal political ways to make that decision. And the Trumpian way would, who knows who he might choose and why he might choose. The normal political way would be, okay, Trump, I've got a problem with this constituency, so I will select a Latino, or I'll select a woman, or I'll do, you know, whatever. But I don't, the names, there are a lot of Republicans who have said, no way do I want to be on the ticket, but there are also some Republicans who said, I'd love to be the Republican nominee, because they know that even if Trump loses being the Republican nominee, they can become like Sarah Palin.
That is an exciting proposition.
As the son of a veteran of World War I,
Yes,
and a veteran of the Marine Corps myself,
Semper Fi.
well, Semper Fi. My question is a general question. Who controls the media? For example, Chris Hedges, I've known and talked to. He was an expert war correspondent, and he revealed a lot of important facts about the destruction of Mossadegh, who was the prime minister of Iraq, tragically. Now, if I want to hear him, I had to hear him on Russian television.
Wow.
And I heard him just the other day, and I was excited because I had read all his books, and he was an excellent war correspondent. Who controls the media?
Well, it's as diverse, the controllers are as diverse as the media itself. There isn't one group of people who control, except there are huge concentrations now in like the Tribune Company owns a lot of newspapers now, and obviously the Murdoch owns a lot of all kinds of things, and Time Warner has huge media holdings.
But Murdoch's from Australia.
That's right. That's right.
He doesn't even, is he a citizen?
He is.
Oh yeah,
Is?
yeah. He's an
I worked for him.
actual citizen.
Almost disowned it.
Yeah, yeah. But there's no wall between the United States and Australia. There's no one group of people that control the media, and they're just like everybody else. Sometimes they make mistakes, and clearly you brought up one you believe is made, that Chris Hedges has not been getting the attention that he deserves.
Thank you.
Yep.
One last question. Well, my dad raised his hand. Well, I can't say no to that. No, Dad. Yeah, that's right, Father. This is your president. Don't expect anything else.
Do I have to answer? I have to answer this?
You do. You
Okay.
do.
Yes,
Or
you
I'm
do.
going to pull the plug if you don't.
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, don't pull the plug now.
Yeah.
Wait. A few minutes ago, Doug asked you to comment on the relationship between President Obama, and the Congress, and you didn't mention race. Do you think there could be a racial element in that disagreement between the President and the Congress?
There are those who believe There are those who believe that there is a either conscious or unconscious racial element to the rigid opposition to President Obama. Been there from the beginning. People didn't want to have do not want an African American to be president of the United States. Didn't want it, still don't want it. And that Obama himself has said he doesn't believe that. He believes that is not at the heart of the Republican opposition. Let's face it, the Republican opposition, which has been rigid against everything he's wanted to do. He has said he doesn't think it's racially tinged at all. But there are others who disagree with that, and clearly you're one of those. So am I.
There you go. There's your answer. Jim Lehrer, thank you very much.
Thank you.